Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. My name is Hanifah Sharafedi with NPM 2111011005. And for today's occasion, I would like to present to you about the Chapter 1, Strategic Management Essentials. So the first thing that we need to analyze is about the basic that came from the strategic management itself, that we will likely to discuss about the definition and also the strategic planning. So before we jump to the main table of content, we need to understand about what is the strategic management definition. The main definition is that strategic management is the art of science of formulating, implementing, and evaluating cross-functional decisions that enable organization to achieve its objective. But rather than this definition, we can highly conclude that strategic management itself, it can be such a planning that that a corporation need to have to make their company have a competitive advantage to their competitors. That is like the main thing that we can analyze from the strategic management definition. And the next, we can move to the strategic planning. So in the strategic planning itself, in the strategic management, you need to make some kind of planning with the 3 steps. The first is strategy formulation, the second is implementation, and the third is evaluation. And in here, in the strategic management stage that I have told about the 3 steps, in the formulation, it means that you need to analyze about what is the company value and the objective or the goals that you want to achieve regarding the company itself. And the second, you need to move on the strategy implementation. It means that based on your planning that you have reconsider about what is the best thing that you can do in your company, you need to implement it about itself. So the third, you need to make such a strategy evaluation. By strategy evaluation, you can analyze that have your strategy implementation been doing correctly or wrongly. And in here, if you have evaluated, you got to understand about if the thing that you did is a good or wrong, and is the thing is getting a good outcome or bad outcome to the company itself. And also, in this 3 hierarchical levels in a large organization, it sometimes occur in the corporate, divisional, or strategic business unit, and the functional. So there are like 3 main stages of the strategic management. And also in strategic management, we got to know about the integrating in intuition and analysis. So what is intuition? Intuition, more likely that you believe in your faith, your mindset that you will do this kind of sort of things. So sometimes intuition itself is essential to make such a good strategic decision, because sometimes it involves experience, judgment, and feeling from people from the past experience. And also, what is the correct time of using intuition? Sometimes people using intuition when the time is little or pre-designed. So we can take an example about a person that have to analyze something or making such a decision in a brief moment. They cannot have like wasting their time for doing a strategical data, but the thing that they can do in the last time is taking intuition in such a management decision. That is how intuition is used. And sometimes a good people with a good experience, they have a good intuition that can lead them from the experience, the judgment, and the feeling from the past experience itself. And the next, it is the key terms in strategic management. So in the strategic management, there are a lot of things that we need to understand about the key terms, or we can say the words that frequently being used in the strategic management. The first is competitive advantage. So the competitive advantage in here, it means that something that the company have better than other competitor, like, or the other rival firms. It means that your advantages or the thing that you are better than your competitor. It is something called as competitive advantage. The second is strategies. So strategies, it is someone that who make the strategy, and they are the one who responsible for kind of success or failure of the organization. So who is the strategist of the organization? Sometimes the strategist is the people with high top level management or the high top hierarchy. It can be chief executive, CEO, it can be owner or chair of board itself. And the third, in strategic management, we have vision and mission statement. So in the vision and mission statement, it is more likely to tell about what the company has about the goals, the outcome, and what is their mission, about their value and priority that they want to analyze during the process. And the fourth, in strategic management, we also got to analyze the external opportunity and threats. So external opportunity and threats may occur to be economic, social, cultural, demographical, environmental. That is something that came from the external of the company itself, not coming from the internal, but the external that not coming from the company. And the fifth is the internal strength and weakness. So in strategic management, company also need to analyze about their strength and weakness to gain about discussing about the things that they want to do or to reach the goals. They need to understand their strength and weakness, about what kind of performance that they are doing well or what kind of performance that they are doing poorly. And the sixth is about long-term objective. So in a long-term objective, it is a specific result that an organization seek to achieve in pursuing its basic mission. And the seven is the strategy itself. Strategy, it means that long-term objectives that will be achieved, about what kind of thing that you want to do to achieve that kind of long-term goals. And the eighth is annual objectives. So annual objectives, it is more likely to be slightly different than long term, because in annual it is a short term that organization must achieve. And sometimes annual can be mean in per year, like in 1 year, or it can maybe different in some kind of company, because some company more likely to have the annual objective per year by the early of the year itself. And also in strategic management, we have the policy. So the policy, it means that the rules, the regulation, or the procedure that established by the company, and it needs to be followed by the people in the company to achieve their stated objective or their outcomes. So this is the comprehensive model of the strategic management process. So this is the picture that I get from book, and based on this picture, we get to know that based from this three management cycles, like here, formulation, implementation, and evaluation. But in the formulation, the first thing that we can do is develop a vision and mission statement. And the next, after we develop the vision and mission statement, we got to establish about the long-term objective, and we can generate, evaluate, and select the strategy. And beside of that, we go to the strategy implementation. So in the strategy implementation, it means that we implement the strategy that we have reconsidered in the strategy formulation itself. And in here, in implementing strategy, it doesn't only require about one functional, but all the functional working together to implement the strategy. And the functional that working together in here, such as marketing, finance, accounting, R&D, and MIS issue, it means that it it is more likely to adjust with the corporational functional that they have, because each company have their own functional that is slightly different between each company. And after we go into the strategy implementation, we got to know about the strategy evaluation. Based on the implementation that we have done in the functional that we have did together, we need to evaluate, is the implementation being done goodly or poorly? And if it is done goodly, what kind of outcomes that we get from it? But if we done it badly, what kind of thing that we need to do it better in the next step in the future? So that is how the comprehensive model of the strategic management process works, basically in the three steps: formulating, implementing, and evaluating the strategy. So this is the benefits of engaging in strategic management. The first benefits is enhanced communication based on dialogue and participation. So why the benefits is enhanced communication? So in engaging in strategic management, engage means that every person in the company working together to gain the strategic management process, like the three step. Like like the three steps that I have explained before. So if every person participating in the strategic management, it means that they will have more engaged communication between the top level, middle level, and lower level, because they are working together. So it means that they are feeling that they are participating in the strategic management process. So it means that it can enhancing the communication between the level of the management. And the second benefit that people can get by engage or participating in strategic management process, it can deeper or improve the understanding from the people. The first is we got to know about other people's views. It means that we got to know their opinion regarding the strategic management process itself, because everyone is participating in here. So every opinion here is valued by the company. And the second, we got to know about what the firm is doing, planning, and why. Sometimes some company, they try to keep their strategical management process by itself, because they don't want to share it to public, because they're afraid that someone might copy it. But for me, by their keeping it by themselves, it is more likely that the whole company doesn't really understand about what kind of thing or what kind of planning that's being done by the company. So it is really important for the participant to engage in the strategic management process, because they got to know about the schedule or the things that the company want to achieve. And the third is greater commitment. So by participating in the process itself, everyone that participating in it, they got to know about what is the objective of the company, what the strategy they need to implement, and they will work hard, because they are the one who will consider what is the best strategic management to be implemented. And the next benefit of strategic management is the result. So in here, because everyone participating, like all managers and all employee on a mission, they can help the firm to succeed, because they're working together. It means they got a lot of people working in their job to achieve the organizational goals. So this is like the four main benefit of engaging in strategic management. But rather than the four benefit, we got to also know about the financial benefit that the organizational can have. So in the financial benefit, because they're working together, it means like a lot of sub-functional working, like the financial, the marketing, the human resource. And in here, they got to analyze about the financial benefit, which one is the more profitable, which one it is more likely to success or not. And the next is about non-financial benefit. So for the non-financial benefit, it is more likely to focus on the enhancing awareness of external threats, improve understanding of competitor strategy, and increase employee productivity and reduce the resistance to change. So in here, we get to know that the benefit of engaging in strategic management is really huge, and it's really contributing to the organizational success. That is why all of the worker actually should to engage with the strategic management process. So the next is about the comparing business and military strategy. So in the book, it is also state that sometimes business strategy and military strategy being compared a lot. The reason why it being compared, because we know that every kind of part must have their own strategy for something. But the more likely strategy that being explained in here is the comparison of business and military strategy. So the first sameness about business and military strategy is that their main goals or outcome is to win, or is to have a competitive advantage than other competitors, so they can win the war, or they can win from their other competitors. So what is the main difference between military and business strategy? So for the business strategy, it is more likely that the strategy formulated, implemented, and evaluated with the assumption of the competition. So it means that you compete with your competitor, you compete with your rival, that your main goal is to winning the competition between the rival with the same kind of business. And for the military strategy, the main things that they got to analyze is about the assumption of conflict. So in the military strategy, they are more focused about the conflict that might happen within a country than other country, and the thing that they need to analyze about how to win the war. It is about the military strategy itself. And the next, we got to know about why some first doesn't do the strategic planning. So there are a lot of stuff that we can know about why some organization doesn't do strategic planning. The first is that no formal training in strategic management, because we know that preparing for a training or providing a training must take a lot of times. Besides taking a lot of time, it means taking a lot of costs, because you need to pay people for training your employee in order to gain strategic management knowledge. And the second, no monetary rewards for doing planning. So in some kind of sort company, the company didn't give reward to the people who do the planning. So people who do the planning will likely to think, what is the main outcomes for me doing this planning if it doesn't give any essential benefits for me? And the third, no punishment for not planning. The company didn't give any punishment for people who don't want to do the planning. And the fourth, no appreciation for the benefits of planning. And the fifth, too busy resolving the internal crisis that happen in a company, so they don't really think that the strategic planning is really important to be implemented, because there are a lot of internal crises that happen. And the sixth, they view planning as a waste of time, because we know in planning we got to have to follow the three stage: formulating, implementing, and evaluating, and it must have take a lot of time. And seven is laziness, because laziness came from the internal of the people itself. And the next is the pitfalls in strategic planning. So there are some pitfalls in strategic planning that we can avoid. So what is the pitfall? Pitfalls mean likely to be something that can make your planning hardly to be implemented in the process. The first is that people using strategic planning to gain control over decision and resource. The second, people do strategic planning only to satisfy accreditation or regulatory requirement, which is happen a lot. And the third, too hastily moving from mission development to strategy formulation. And the fourth, failing to communicate the plan to employee who continue working in the dark. So that is something that we need to avoid in the strategic planning, because it can hardly be implemented if we have some kind of sort like this thing in our company. So the next is about the strategic planning at Nestle SA. So this is about the case study. The first step that the case study want me to do is to go to the Nestle website and review the company recent annual report and list about the 5 major strategy that Nestle pursuing worldwide. So the 5 major strategy of Nestle is building nutrition, health, and wellness strategy. Like based on their quote is good food, good life, their slogan. So it means that their aim is to provide the tastiest, healthiest choices at all times of the people or the consumer itself. And the second major strategy of Nestle is to accelerating growth of the company. So what kind of thing that Nestle do to accelerating the growth? The first, they are expanding the new business model. The second, they are focusing on direct to consumer needs. And the third, they're partnering with key online retailers around the world. And the third strategy that Nestle did is building nutrition, health, and I mean like providing good nutrition for the consumer. And the fourth is increasing efficiency. It means that in Nestle, they are more focused on manufacturing footprint. So what is in here, the manufacturing footprint? It means that during the manufacture, they try to make it as efficient as it can during the operation. So it means that it can cut down the cost, it can cut down the time. And the five major strategy of Nestle is understanding and serving the customer. So in Nestle itself, in terms of understanding and serving the customer, they want to follow the trends early and capture the things by doing implementation about the trends. So we can take an example of KitKat X Aerospace, which is they're following the trends of the shoe and following the trends of the KitKat, which means that they understand about what the thing that the consumer need nowadays. And the next is about the Mars Inc. strategy. based on the second step, the thing that I need to analyze is about go to Mars Inc. website and determine as best you can what the privately held firm is doing worldwide to compete with Nestle. So to compete with Nestle, they also kind of sorting about the five same major strategy. The first is about healthy planet ambition. So the more likely difference between the healthy planet ambition that came from Nestle and Mars Inc. is that Mars Inc. more focused on the climate action because they need to change people mindset regarding the company itself. They want their company to be acknowledged as a company that value the green strategy by participating in the climate action like water stewardship and land use to reduce the environmental effect and to keep the planet healthy. And the second strategy for Mars Inc. to compete with Nestle is that accelerating growth, the same. But the thing that they done is shift to digital transformation. Like from before they don't follow the e-commerce, but now they follow the e-commerce to promoting or selling their product. And the second, they also following the social trend and customer demand, which is almost likely the same as what Nestle did. And the third in marketing strategy to compete is the nourish well-being. So in the nourish well-being, it means that they want that the snacks that provided by Mars Inc. is something that being trusted and enjoying by the people, that it can make their life live healthier and happier life, because they really maintain about the nutrition that consists in the product itself. And the fourth strategy that they can do to compete with Nestle is the increasing efficiency. So if the Nestle doing like a manufacturing footprint, but Mars Inc. strategy more likely to partnering with Better Up. So Better Up is like some kind of company that focusing on leadership of the human resource. So they want to make their human resource work really efficient, because they believe that there are three ability that they can do to increase efficiency, like the assets and like the maximum productivity, the people, the product. But one thing that they do is partnering with Better Up to increasing the efficiency of the mindset of the worker to work with efficient time and efficient knowledge with partnering with Better Up. And the next Mars Inc. strategy that they implement in their organization is about the understanding and serving the customer. So in the understanding and serving the customer, they are looking from the testimonial that came from the people that using their products. So by looking at the consumer behavior before and after the purchase, they understand about how their product fit into the people lifestyle or the consumer lifestyle. They can also identify about the engagement between the consumer and the product journey. So they understand about what kind of thing that they can do to serve the customer, what kind of product that the customer is suitable from, and something like that. And this is the step 3, is the comparison for strategy between Nestle and Mark Inc. at how they compete together. The first is about the healthy planet ambition. So for the healthy planet ambition, Nestle more likely to only focus on the providing healthiest choice of food. But Mars Inc., they are participating and sharing awareness regarding the climate change. The second comparison is for the accelerating growth between Nestle and Mars Inc. Nestle is more focused on the consumer demand and also the following the trend itself, but Mars Inc. they're focusing on digital transformation, social trend, and the consumer demand also. And the third strategy between Nestle and Mark Inc. is about nourish well-being. So in Nestle, they are more likely to provide the good nutrition, and Mars Inc. same also the good nutrition. So it is more likely that nourish well-being is the same strategy between Nestle and Mars Inc. There is no difference between nourish nutrition between the company. And Other comparison for strategy, because we have five, this is the fourth, and the five is more likely to be increasing efficiency. So in increasing efficiency, Nestle is focusing in manufacturing footprint because they want that their manufacturing process being done efficiently throughout the operation, like it can cutting the cost, it can cutting the time, and a lot of things can be done efficiently. And for the Mars Inc., they are partnering with Better Up to increasing the efficiency in terms of the human resource because they think of the people that working in the company as their asset. So they are securing their asset by partnering with Better Up to increasing the efficiency. And another strategy between Nestle and Mars Inc. is that understanding and serving the consumer. So for the Nestle, they are trying to identify the consumer trends early and acting quickly up to capture them. So they really like to following the trends. Like I say to you, like the trends that happens between KitKat that partnering with shoe, which is the shoe have the KitKat logo to it, which people consider it as a trend. And also for the Mars In, the Mars In is slightly different because to understand and serving the customer, the Mars In try to see about the consumer review and behavior or the customer testimonial. By doing that, they can know if the products fit or not. So they can also identify what kind of thing that the engagement with the customer happen, what kind of product suitable to be sell, and also the journey of the people using the product. Another thing that came from the third step is about the strategy. So which one is better? Share company strategy in public or keeping strategy secret from their stakeholder, employee, creditor, supplier, and other stakeholders? So this is some kind of debatable things that happen between strategy. So the first is sharing the company strategy in public that I want to analyze first. Because we know that the top managers, they are responsible for setting the overall direction from the mix and from the Mars itself. They can also make sure that major organizational objectives are achieved. This is some kind of advantage. Why share company strategy in public is good, because the top management need to know if the strategy that being implemented is achieved or not. And what kind of benefit also that they can get by sharing the company's strategy in public? The first is that the top level management can direct and oversee an organizational financial and budgetary activities. So everything is more likely to be in control about the top management. So they know about the organizational financial and budgetary activity that happens. And the second is that they can establish and carry out departmental or organizational goals, policy, and procedure because they know about the things that happen in the company, and also they are also sharing the company strategy in public so they can establish and carry out the departmental organizational goals, policy, and procedure because everyone know about the strategy. But on the other side, there's also some kind of debatable things happen between keeping the strategy or sharing the strategy in the public. So in the keeping strategy from the stakeholder, employee, creditors, suppliers, and other stakeholder, the main advantage that they can get is that there's no competitors copying or exploiting the strategy or less. But we need to also consider that, like based on my presentation from before, that engagement between the participant and the strategy management process is really highly needed. So if people don't really participating in strategy, so how can the communication goes work? So the people in the company will likely to ask about what kind of thing that they are doing, what is the strategy, because they don't really understand. They only work based on what they work, based on what their job asks, but they don't really know about the outcomes or the goal from the company. So that's all from my presentation. Is there anyone want to ask a question?
Honey, can I